Well, hey everyone, and welcome to Beam and Board. And today I'm going to be doing something a little different in the shop. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to watch tool reviews before I buy a new tool. So I've decided that I'm going to share some of my own thoughts and opinions of some of the tools that I already have and new tools that I get along the way. And today I'm going to be doing a review on this router guide set made by Kreg. This is designed to cut radiuses and chamfers on the corners of your workpieces. So stick around as I share what this tool is, how it works, and I share my thoughts on whether this tool is worth it to have in your shop or not. Well, let's start by talking about what this tool is. This is a router guide set, and we'll use this to cut chamfered or radius corners on boards. I use it for cutting boards. It could be used for maybe like an end table or a coffee table. Now it does have some limitations as far as its size, but it's a good template, it's a good guide that you can use with your router to cut these corners. Now, if you don't have a tool like this and a router or a router table, really you're left with the option of going to the bandsaw or maybe using a jigsaw and just tracing out the corners. Hey, I've made some projects like that in the past where you take a bottle cap or something like that and trace it with a pencil and then end up making a cut with a jigsaw. But the result is usually far less than perfect and usually leaves some saw marks that you can't even sand out without completely reprofiling that corner. That's where this comes in. It allows us to make that corner the way we want it to look. It's going to be smooth and consistent, no lines. Every corner is going to look the same. Now, this tool comes with 8 different templates. So the first thing we need to do is decide which template we want to use for the workpiece. Today I'm going to be working on a cutting board that I want to put a 1-inch radius corner on. So I'm going to select the 1-inch radius template and insert it into the jig. At the router table, I'm going to set the height of the bit so that the bearing runs along the guide. The bottom of the jig has a rubber coating that prevents the jig from slipping on the workpiece. I'm going to check to make sure that the screws are tight before I get started. I'm going to slowly work my way around the corner, making several passes just to slowly remove the material and not burn the wood or dull the bit. And just some router basics. Always check the rotation of the bit and make sure that you're pushing the workpiece into the bit. And there you have it. One corner finished, and I'm ready to move on to the other 3 corners. Now I'm going to give a bonus tool review here really quick. When you're using this router guide set, you want to make sure you're using a good flush trim bit with this set. And I've chosen a down shear helix flush trim bit. These bits are expensive. They cost about $45. But if you've bought any router bits, you know that router bits in general are expensive, and $45 for a bit is really not that bad. And this one produces very clean cuts. It's easy to use. I get very little to no tear out with this because it is a shearing design. It actually slices as it goes around because this cutting edge is set at an angle away from the shank. All that to say, just make sure you have a quality bit. It doesn't have to be one of these shear styles, helix style. It can be just a regular straight flush trim bit. But the important thing is when you're using this jig, make sure you're using a quality bit. Okay, so I think we got some really good results using that template. All 4 corners look the same. They need just a little bit of sanding, but in general, they came out more than acceptable. I also want to mention you don't have to have a router table to use this tool. Just pick yourself up a double bearing flush trim bit, and you can use this with any router. Now, any good tool review wouldn't be complete if I didn't actually give it a review. So here are some of the facts and my thoughts about this set. Now first, let's talk about the cost. This set cost right at $40. I picked mine up for $39.98 at Lowe's. Now I will tell you that Lowe's is running a sale on this exact set for $19.98, and it looks like they're running the sale through November 17th. And at that price, I really don't think you can go wrong with this set. If you don't have something that will help you with cutting a chamfer or a radius on the corner of your boards, you might want to run to Lowe's and pick one of these up. But at its normal pricing, I feel like $40 is just a little bit high for what you're actually getting here. This is a tool that's completely made of plastic and rubber, with the exception of the inserts and the screws that make up the fence on the bottom of the template. You do get this nice little tray that holds all the templates with it, but for a tool that's entirely made of plastic like this, I feel like $40 is just a little bit high. Now, it's not flimsy, it is substantially made, but I don't feel like it quite meets that $40 expectation as far as the quality of the build. Now, I would like to talk about two issues I did find with this tool. The first issue I found is that the templates, when they're installed in the jig, are not squared with the jig. And I would imagine that's probably by design. I did look in the manual to see if anything's mentioned about it, and it's not. But it does create some interesting characteristics on the corners when you use this guide. Now, even though Kreg didn't mention it, I think this is intentional. And I think what it's designed to do is actually to have the router bit off the edge of the board before it begins to make the cut as you go around that corner. But I do mention that because I have seen other reviews on YouTube where this issue has been discovered, and for some it's been seen as a flaw. And while I'm not overly happy with the results that it yields, it's not something that I can't work with. A little bit of time with the sander completely removes the little edge that comes up because of this. Now, the second issue that I discovered with this actually has to do with the screws that are on the bottom of it that produce that fence system that guides the template. And really, this is less of a problem and more of just a word of caution or some guidance about what you should know the first time you use this jig. So while I was using this for the first time, and of course it was on a nice cutting board instead of on a scrap piece of material, one of these screws fell out as I was rounding one of the corners off. And when it did, the entire jig was allowed to move off square from the board, and the router bit dug into the side of my cutting board. And the reason that's really an issue is if that screw had gotten into the router bit, it probably could have made for a bad day. At a minimum, it probably would have damaged the router bit, possibly to a point beyond use, or it could have potentially thrown it maybe into my face or across the shop. So my recommendation, when you get this thing out of the box, double check, make sure that all of the screws are tight on the bottom before you go to use it for the first time. Now, as far as my thoughts about whether this tool works well or not, I believe it does. While it doesn't offer an extreme range of options, it offers some really good solutions. All the way from a 1/4 inch, radius up to a 2-inch radius. And then it also comes with 3 45-degree chamfers from 1/2 inch up to 2 inch. And the templates themselves, well, they seem to be well made. They are plastic, but it's strong enough to withstand running along the bearing on a flush trim router bit. So overall, I'm pleased with this set. As I mentioned, I do think at $40 it's a little overpriced, but that's just my opinion. I did pay $40 for it, and I'm happy with the results it's produced. Now, there are some alternatives to this set that are out there. But this is readily available. Most of the big box stores are going to carry it, and it's available from Amazon as well. And I have really liked the Kreg tools that I've purchased so far. All of them have done well in my shop. Well, that's it for this review. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you haven't subscribed already to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next build. And the second, probably bigger reason got him.